Hello, my name is Shiona Drummer, and I serve as the Instructional Technology Specialist and Personalized Learning Director for Twiggs County Public Schools. Today, I want to share with you all some information based off of the survey results. I sent out a survey just asking which instructional technology things would interest you all most, and the resounding response was that you wanted to know more about Google Forms. So we will look at Google Forms and quizzes. They're basically this one and the same, and we will jump right into that right now. So to access Google Forms and quizzes, you would just come to this icon. This is actually your app launcher. I call it your waffle. So you would click on your waffle, and then you would find the app icon that you would like to use. So these are the applications that our school district has provided for you. So each of these are at your disposal. They are great applications to use to incorporate um, different things into your teaching practice. So we will get into Google Forms and quizzes because if you don't use it, I think you should. I think this will be very helpful for you, and you could even train your students on how to do it, or I will gladly help you with that. So to get to Google Forms and quizzes, again, you click on your app launcher, which I call your waffle. This is the Google Forms icon. If Google Forms is the app that you use most frequently, you can actually move this icon and reorder it along with others. So if you use Google Docs frequently, and then maybe your Gmail account. So you can arrange or rearrange as you see fit, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and go into Google Forms. I've already clicked it, so that's what's in the background here. So when you come into Google Forms, you will see that you can start a new form here in this top panel, or you can click on any one of the older forms that you have. So these are forms that I've either created or responded to, and they are saved here. Okay. So if you wanted to start a new form, you can create one from scratch by clicking on the blank um, option. You can use a blank quiz, which is also for forms. It's the same one and the same. They have an exit ticket for you, worksheets, course evaluation. If you click here where it says template gallery, if you click on general, there are a few more options for you here, ranging from order forms to RSVPing for a party, and etc. Okay, so we're going to go back out of this template gallery and we're going to hop right into a blank quiz. So you would click here on the second option. Now, first things first, across the top here, you see it says blank quiz. We can highlight this and rename it. I think we're going to call this one life science. All right. You can actually rename this area too. So this is the name of the file. This is the file name. And then this is the name that you can give the quiz. They do not have to be the same. But for today's presentation, we will keep it the same. All right. Now, this tab is where all of the questions will be housed. This tab where the responses is where the responses will be. And then finally, we can go into the settings and tweak things to make our experience personalized. So across the top here, there are add-ons that you can place within your form or quiz. You can also customize your theme. Always preview it before you send it out. That is definitely a good thing to do. And of course, undo and redo. So then when it comes to sending and sharing with your learners or your colleagues, I'll show you how to do that. And there's also this more options such as duplicate it. You make an exact copy of whatever you create. You can throw it away, get a pre-filled link, print off all your questions, add collaborators, so people who will be able to manipulate your document and others, okay? So let's start with life science. Here you would insert a description if you choose to. You do not have to. I will just say life science is the study living things. Okay? So if this were a quiz, which we are going to make it one, we could give instructions on specifically what we want our learners to do at each step, or we can keep it general. We can put well wishes in this spot. It's totally up to you. You could personalize it however you see fit. All right, so for our first question, it is untitled. Let's just ask a question. Let's say, what is the basic unit of life? Okay. You see that by default, multiple choice is the option, the answer option. So we're going to leave it here. So where it says option one, let's click and let's start inserting our answer choices. So let's say an ant. Next option, let's say a cell. Third option, let's say gravity. Okay. So there's also the option to add other. And this basically means, and I'll click it, but that basically means that you leave the option for someone to type in a different answer from these three that you've already provided. Okay. Now, let's say you think about it and say, ooh, I don't want my students, my learners to be able to add their own option. You just go ahead and click remove and it's gone. And of course, you see here, these X's, you could remove these other answer choices as you see fit. So we're almost done with our first question, but a couple of important things. First thing, if you want to duplicate this exact same question, you would hit this icon and it would make a copy of it. If you don't like the question after you've written it, you can go up here and just change it. Okay. But you don't have to. You can throw it away, delete it, start a whole new question. This is toggled off by default, but I would definitely toggle it on if you want to make sure that before a learner can submit their quiz to you, that they've answered all questions. Okay, and then here, this actually gives you the option to add a description to this particular question, or if your learners answer a certain way based on their answer, it will send them to a different section. All right, so we'll get into that in a future session. But this is actually pretty neat. So it's kind of like the branching option if you're familiar with Microsoft Forms. So this is like the branching option. And then you can always shuffle the option order. So that way, no two students, two students are very unlikely to have the exact same order depending on the number of answer choices you have. All right. So now that we've covered that, let's go over here and look at this. So to the far left-hand corner, there's a area that says answer key. So we click on that and you see currently it says 0 points. So we're going to click on answer key. And this, as you've probably guessed, is where you'll come in and you'll set the point value. So let's say we're going to do 10 questions. We won't do all 10 today, but let's just say we were. This is where you can adjust the point value. So if you were going to do 2 questions, it might be 50 points each to come up to that 100 point value, okay? So while you're in here, you select which answer choice is correct. And you'll know it's the one that you've selected because it'll be highlighted in green and there'll be a green check to the far right. But guess what? You can have more than one correct answer choice to select, and that's quite all right. So whatever you choose is what Google Forms is going to mark as correct, okay? Or incorrect if that's not what they choose. I'm going to click off of that. And then now that we've done this, we can come over here and add answer feedback. So if someone answers incorrectly, you can give them a prompt such as, please remember our lesson on the building blocks of life last week. So if they don't get it correct, this answer will pop up. This reply will pop up from you. You can insert a video. So if you want, maybe you have something from National Geographic about sales, you can insert that link there. Or if you have a different link, maybe to your OneDrive or to something that you all have done, you can insert that link there as well. All right. If you want to have something for correct answers like um, just very generic. I know you would probably have something more meaningful than that, but these are some options for you. So for correct answers, you can have feedback for them, and incorrect answers, you can have feedback for them as well. And I really like this option because it gives them instant feedback. So as they answer, they'll know how they're performing. So once you've done that, you just scroll down and click done. And your first question is good to go. All right, so now how do we add a second question or more? You come on this side panel and you see this circle with the plus sign, it'll say add question. You click on that. Here's question number 2. So let's say we are looking at life science. Let's talk about biomes. So um, which of the following are biomes? Right? Again, we're going to leave it at multiple choice, which is the default. But if you did not want to do multiple choice, guess what? You could have a short answer. You can let them write a paragraph. Um, Multiple choice is the default again. You can have check boxes. We will do that actually. Let's change it to check boxes. You can have a drop down for them to select from. You can upload files, just so many things that you can do. All right. So which of the following are biomes? So the first one, let's say the tundra. We can say the savanna. We can say, let's do one more. Let's just say, actually, let's do 4. So we'll say the desert. And then let's say something ridiculous like shoebox. Okay. So we have this. I'm not going to give them the option to add other. So we want to, again, toggle this on to be required. We're going to come over to our answer key. You see now that the default is 10 points. But let's just go over here and mark what the correct answers are. And it asks us to please choose the correct answers. So we'll say these first 3. All right. You know, you would come here and then put your feedback if you wanted feedback for incorrect and correct answer choices, and then click done. All right, so now let's say that you have all of these finished. Let's say you have 10 questions that you create, and you are ready to make some tweaks to the appearance of your form. So you would come right here to customize theme. You can change the text style for all of these, for your header, for your questions, and for the text itself. You can actually choose an image for your header. And your header is that thin strip across the very top by your title. So we're doing science. Let's do this, even though it's more like laboratory kind of situation. All right, and then I'm going to change it to this beautiful color here. All right. All right, so we're going to stop there. All right, X off of that. Now let's scroll up to the top. Okay, our header has changed. Beautiful. All right, so now that we have that done, remember I told you it's always good to preview. So when you preview, you just click on the eye. It's going to open up a new tab, and you can actually see what your quiz looks like and how your students would experience your quiz. You can go through and take it and actually submit it yourself, okay? Now, as you can tell here, I gave 50 points for this first question and 10 for the second. So guess what? We're not done. We can go in and make edits, okay? So I am going to leave that page, come back to my original. Remember, this is question 2. And actually, if I wanted to reorder the questions, I could. You just click and drag, and I'm going to drop it here instead. Okay. So I switched up the order very seamlessly. You do not have to delete and say, oh, I put those out of order. I have to delete it. No, you don't. Just click and drag. All right. So come over to the answer key. Let's change our point value to 50 to match our other. Click done to save your changes. And you are doing great. All right. So now it shows you right here, total points 100. All right. So let's say I want to share this. I want to send it. Click on your button. You can either email everyone. So if I wanted to email Dr. Simmons and Mrs. Jenkins, I could put them in here. The subject of my email, on the subject line, it will appear as life science. And then the message, unless I change it, the default is I've invited you to fill out a form. Please do check this box, you all. Check this box. All right. If I want them to be an editor, I would click here. And then I can add them here as editors as well. If I do that, they would get notification. Okay. Now, for Google Forms and quizzes, if you add a collaborator, they're automatically going to be an editor. So what this means is if you add someone who's not familiar with using Google Forms and quizzes, they can actually come in and manipulate your quiz or your form, and it will save. The new changes will be saved. So what you may want to do is if you're sharing out your document with someone, share a copy with them. So I'm not going to send this to Mrs. Jenkins and Dr. Simmons, but what I did want to point out is that there is a responder link. So this means that this is the link that people who are just responding, like your students, your learners, this is a link that you would share with them for them to be able to provide you with answers, okay? So you do not want your students to be editors, okay? You want them to be responders only. So you can share it this way. So I'll copy this link. I'm not going to send this to them. All right, done. Another way I could have done this was to click on send, go here to the link icon, and then I could just copy this link. However, I like the fact that they offer me a shortened URL. So did you see what I did? This was the original. Look how long that is. Or I could click on here and get a shortened version of it. So this is the same link that the responder link was from the previous section I showed you. So you can just click that and copy it. If you want to collect their email addresses, you can highlight that as well. All right. So now what can you do? This link that you copied, you can put in your Google Classroom if you use that. If not, if you email your students, you can put that in an email to them and they'll get it individually and be able to respond individually. All righty. So I think we've covered a good bit of the information about Google Forms and quizzes. I do want to point out that a form is the exact same as a quiz, but the form does not have any point values assigned to each question. So if you wanted to create a form without any point value, then you just don't assign any point value. It's just that simple. But they're basically one and the same, except for the point values that you choose to assign. So when you come over to this next tab, this is responses, and you will see the responses populate on this page. The beautiful thing about this is that your responses can be generated in an Excel spreadsheet. Basically, it's a Google spreadsheet, but you can have your responses go to a spreadsheet and you can look at that data. It makes it very easy for you to disaggregate. I'm actually going to show you an example in a second. And here, the last thing I want to show you before I show you what the spreadsheet looks like, you can, if you've already made it a form rather, and you want to make it a quiz, you would toggle this on. It was already on because we added point values. Now you see it knocked it down to 20. So if you make changes in your settings, just look to go back and correct anything if it does change. When do you want your grades released? Immediately after each submission is what I would recommend. It is a default so they know in real time how they did, especially if you're inputting that feedback. They've gotten the feedback along the way. They probably have an idea, but we want to know right away a lot of times how we performed. There's also this new setting called locked mode where it will prevent your learners from opening separate tabs outside of this quiz. So it's just another, safeguard, making sure that they are staying focused and time on task. So if you wanted that to happen, you would toggle that on. I'm not going to. You can allow them to see which questions they got incorrect and also correct. If you're giving the feedback for each section, I would leave it on, but otherwise I toggle that off. Allow them to see how much each question is worth. They might have varying point value. So I think that's a good thing to be open and upfront with when it comes to your learners. The default point value is 10 points, but you can change that as you see fit. And then collecting email addresses is the default here. Because you're collecting email addresses, guess what? You can send them copies of their responses always automatically. I would do that. The only problem with that would be is if they share it with someone else in a later class, and then the other class has kind of has a leg up on everyone else because they've been exposed to the information. But hey, just a thought. Just know that that is available. You can actually allow them to go back and make edits after they've submitted their assessment to you. I would not do that. And then you can make it so they can only submit one time and only use their Twiggs County issued email address to complete their form. All right, so the presentation, show progress bar, I do like that. It lets them know how they're progressing as far as getting to the end of the assessment. And then again, shuffle question order. You can have a confirmation message. The default is your response has been recorded, but if you come in and edit it, you can say, we can just say generating excellence. Team, one goal. All right, hit save, and then when students or learners or whomever takes your quiz or answers your form, when they hit submit, this will be the confirmation message that they receive. So they'll know that their information has been submitted properly. Okay, there are a couple other things on here you can check out, but what I wanted to show you very quickly was what it looks like when you have gathered information. When you've gathered responses. So this is the form that I sent out for people to share whether or not they'd be participating in our holiday outing on December 16th. You can see here I got 98 responses, which was awesome. And everyone's email address was recorded. The beautiful thing about this is that it will give you data visualization. So you'll get these pie charts and whatnot, and it'll show you, okay, 78 people said yes, 20 people said no. All right, then it comes down, it shows you Jingle Jangle was your top, the respondents' top choice. 22 people said Jingle Jangle, which was 27.2% of the population who voted. And then the next runner-up was This Christmas at 19 votes, or 23.5% of the votes, okay? You can copy this. If you want to put this into a presentation, you can hit copy and then insert it into a Google slide or into a slide deck of your choosing. And you can look at the information that way. But guess what? You can also review this in Google Sheets. So it will basically create a spreadsheet of all of your responses. And you can quickly go through and see the responses this way, okay? So you can print this off, save it, however you choose to do it. So I just wanted to share this with you all. I hope that it was helpful. I am here to help you with your instructional technology needs, and feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so very much, and I am here for you.